Hi, I'm Lydia with Revelation Real Estate, and today is the first day of our podcast. The podcast name is Solving Life's Next Chapter. Today, I happen to have my friend Matt Merritt with Homebridge Financial. Thanks, Matt, for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about Homebridge Financial.
A little bit about Homebridge is a 48 of 50 state privately held mortgage banker, about $1 billion a month company. We service our own loans, which allows me not to have to contend with banks. I underwrite straight to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae rules. And I'm 25 years in the business. And the whole point of what we do every day is helping people.
Right. So I wanted to explain how we came up with the whole podcast about working with seniors in the senior industry. So Matt has been probably my biggest cheerleader at this point on getting a podcast put together. So I have worked in the senior industry, and Matt has too, for many, many years. And last year I was on a couple of local TV shows, and Matt said, you should really think about doing some podcasts. And so he's the one that kind of steered me in this direction. I had a few other people that kind of went that way with me. And so our podcast, we really want to make it more senior related. And we have a couple of sponsors. We have a hospice company, a mobile ER, and a company that kind of helps direct folks, more like a geriatric care manager or someone who kind of guides people on what their next steps are, and what options are out there for them. So Matt and I both have older parents, and luckily, knock on wood, they're not in this situation yet with some of these things that come up with seniors, but at some point,
see it.
But we see it a lot, yes. So some of the things that I would like to talk about in our podcast over the next few months is moving seniors in and out of homes, what to do with their items. There's title issues that come up. A lot of seniors buy houses together, but they aren't married because for other reasons. And so now there's some title issues when one has to maybe move into an assisted living and the other one doesn't have to.
Right.
And then you get adult children that are kind of getting involved. I also have, I'm also part of the Fall Coalition for the state of Arizona, and we have the head doctor for that. I'm going to get him to come talk about fall prevention, because obviously with our seniors, falls are very important and can cause a lot of medical problems later on. They're doing a fall symposium in September, so I'll try to get him in sometime between now and then. My oldest daughter is stroke certified neurotrauma nurse at Banner Desert, and one of her stroke or neuro doctors has a statewide stroke initiative for the state of Arizona, and they're hoping that they bring it to national. So when strokes come on, by the time the symptoms start, if they can get medication by a certain time, they won't have all the issues that they have with the stroke. So those are some of the things that we are going to be talking about over the next few months.
Arizona and Phoenix specifically is heavy with seniors.
Absolutely. And so when we went down this idea of putting the podcast together, one reason that came up with the podcast is both Matt and I work with a lot of veterans. And so today we wanted to focus on the veterans. I am part of an association called DAV, Disabled American Veterans. They've been a huge help for a lot of my clients. They'll do paperwork at no charge. They've helped with aid and attendance paperwork, with claims that maybe the VA wouldn't pay for, medical claims and things like that. The other thing that came up is I'm also part of the Military Coalition for Local Families, military for the state of Arizona. And they came to me a few months ago. I was given the opportunity to go be part of them. Their main issue, of course, is senior or veteran housing.
Right.
And they've got a couple of veteran low-income veteran rental apartments. Those are all full. So when that came up, I basically they said, we have issues with housing. That's probably our number one issue that we have. And so I came to Matt and I said, okay, Matt, here's an issue that we have with some veterans with housing. And you actually came up with the idea because I just gave you what the problem was. I go, okay, we have all these veterans. They're in all this low income rental buildings, and there's a 2 and 3, 4 year wait to get in there.
Right.
So, part of the problem that we have with veterans is obviously to get a VA loan, there's certain stipulations, and then we have to find a house that actually fits that criteria for the veterans. So tell me why it's so important that we work with our veterans out here.
Well, I guess I would start with the big picture. The big picture to me is this is a group of folks who've put their own health and lives in many cases on the line for us.
Yep.
And given us an opportunity to live in this country. So for me, that's a hard issue.
Yep.
I want to help these folks. The VA loan is, I will say a couple things. The VA loan is misunderstood.
Okay.
The VA loan is underused.
Yes.
And the VA loan is seen as a substandard loan by listing agents.
Yep, I would agree with that.
So start with the underused.
Okay.
A good example I would give you is a lot of Vietnam era guys or gals don't want to use their benefit.
Okay.
I can't really explain to you the psychology behind that.
Right.
But I think it has something to do with how they were received when they came home.
Yep.
And they don't want to use that loan.
Right.
But many of them have that loan. I'll give you a great statistic. Arizona is about 7 million people. There's 522,000 veterans in this state.
Wow.
So it's 1 in 14. And it's very underused. If you look at loans overall, conventional and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA and VA and jumbo, and you sort all that out, VA is very underused.
I would agree with that.
And again, why that is, I couldn't give you an exact answer. I could give you a good guess. The second part of that answer is that listing agents unfortunately see a VA loan sometimes as a bad loan. And they convey that to their seller.
Right.
And suddenly we have 2 or 3 offers on the table. One's a VA, and that is pushed to the side.
And that one's off the table.
Correct.
Yeah. And I will say this. I totally agree with you on that. And I think it's unfair because a lot of times the listing agent, their concern is it going to appraise? Am I going to have issues with repairs?
Yep.
One of the biggest thing for the VA loan is, I know, dripping water out of faucet. Water is a big thing. The safety of the home is a big thing.
Health and safety is a big thing for the VA.
Yeah.
Both from an underwriting perspective and from an appraisal perspective.
Okay.
The VA panel of appraisers in Phoenix is, I think it's overwhelmingly veterans who are looking out for other veterans.
Yeah.
So if they see issues health and safety-wise in that house, they're going to call them out.
Right.
Mold, termites, the list is deep.
Right.
But if they see issues that could potentially affect that veteran, they're going to call them out, and they should.
And they should, exactly. Well, I think part of what makes you different is when we came up with the military coalition group out here locally, there was a couple of loan products that you had that I had not heard from any other lender out there. And I want to find out, I want you to tell us about those particular loan products, because I think that would make listing agents understand that it's not so bad to go through that loan process with a veteran.
Well, start with the basic VA loan. It's a zero down loan. Can you put money down? You certainly can.
Okay.
You don't have to. And overwhelmingly, veterans don't.
Okay.
So that's, I think, part of the stigma. People see an offer with no down payment, and they go, oh my gosh, this is a bad loan.
Right.
Not a bad loan. In fact, statistically, it performs better than most other loans.
Okay.
So that's thing one. Thing two is the renovation part that you and I have talked about. So
Right.
I give you a scenario. You find a house, it's in need of TLC. And I'll make up the example. It's missing the toilets, it's missing the pool pump, the air conditioner's been removed, some of the roof needs to be repaired, and there's no flooring in the house. It's bare
Right.
concrete.
Right.
That house, for any kind of loan, frankly, and especially a VA loan,
Right.
you can't close on that house in that condition.
Right.
So you wind up in a bit of a standoff. You've
Right.
got somebody who wants to buy it who sees the potential later. You've got a seller that's not going to make the repairs.
Right.
So you
those
wind
in a normal VA loan, those repairs have to be done prior to closing.
100%. An
Okay.
appraiser is going to call out all those repairs
Yep.
because they're health and safety issues.
Yep.
So suddenly you find yourself in a spot where you have a person who wants to buy, a seller who won't repair.
Right.
The seller's not going to let you go fix it up before you own it.
Right. Exactly.
And now you're stuck.
Right.
So a VA renovation loan
Mm-hmm.
will allow you to buy that house and throw $35,000 at those upgrades
Okay.
post-close.
Okay.
So you can close and you set aside some money to go in and do the carpet, tile, paint, fix the AC, whatever that might be.
Right.
And you roll those funds into your transaction.
So it benefits the veteran who the old way of looking at VA
Mhm.
loans is you had to find a pretty pristine home. It couldn't have chipped paint.
Correct.
It couldn't have roofing issues. Now we can go into a neighborhood where maybe the houses aren't quite as, they're not as pristine.
Right.
And maybe they're on the market showing like cash or conventional. So now we can go in and use some of these rehab loans for the veteran, and it would be still a VA loan,
You bet.
correct?
You bet. Give you one other, and I thought of this on the way here. There's
Okay.
The house that needs TLC because
Mm-hmm.
it's missing things, it's in disrepair at some level,
Right,
or the 1970s house
right,
that's occupiable. It's just ugly.
right,
It's got Harvest Gold appliances and shag carpet, and it looks terrible.
Right.
But you could live there.
right,
Either one of those would be a candidate for a renovation loan.
right,
So you come in, you pretty it up, or you make it occupiable. Either
Right.
one. It's a great way to do that. I mean, the truth of the matter, and this is any loan, but especially a VA loan, what you don't want to see people do is go close
right,
and then go throw $30,000 on a credit card.
right. Absolutely.
And I see it. And
Interesting.
suddenly, here you are with a $30,000 credit card bill at a 2% minimum payment,
Yep.
which is $600 a month
Wow.
on a credit card right after you bought a home.
Right.
Equate that to mortgage.
Right.
$600 on a mortgage is $100,000,
Okay.
give or take a few pennies.
Right.
So, it's a case of advice. It's a case of having something that people, in most cases, don't know about. You
Right.
didn't know about it till we talked about it.
Right. So it benefits because I'm assuming that a VA loan interest rate's going to be a lot less than your credit card interest
Oh
rate.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, today.
Right.
I looked before I left to come here. You're in the high threes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's much cheaper money to buy the stove, to buy the carpet,
Yep.
to paint the tile, whatever that
Through
might be. Secondarily, you're getting a tax write-off on it.
Right.
And so yeah, it's the right way to do it for everyone involved.
Right.
It's putting a veteran in a home. It's secondarily fixing up the neighborhood. It's
Right.
helping everybody in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. And there's resources out there. Obviously, I'm assuming that they have to use a licensed contractor.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, you cannot. This is not a handyman special.
Yep.
You have to use a contractor. We tend to use a lot of Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yep. And I know Home Depot does have, I think Lowe's may too, have veteran discounts
Yes.
for them. And if they use their contractors, there's discounts
Yep.
theirs as
Yep.
well. So,
Yep.
so this came up, especially when we were talking about all the housing issues, when we're in a situation where, because we have so many veterans that live here, and some of them are on fixed incomes and low income.
Right.
So a lot of them, especially our seniors, are probably on Social Security and or maybe they get some sort of a disabled check of some
Sure,
kind.
sure.
So what's the process for someone who's going through, who maybe normally wouldn't even think that they could buy a home? What are kind of the guidelines that somebody needs to know about to even just consider getting a rehab loan or just a VA loan in general?
Yeah, kind of the same, really,
Okay.
in the context that I'll start here. I always say this to people. The worst thing in the world to do is guess.
Right. I agree with
Let's
that.
not have a 2-minute phone call and we're sitting there thinking, well, it might work, and I think. Let's know.
Right.
So start with the basics, which is credit, income, assets, and property.
Okay.
Property overwhelmingly is going to be a single-family house.
Right.
Relative to the rest of it, the VA in and of itself, to insure a loan, doesn't have a credit score requirement.
Oh, okay.
And understand this. Most people don't understand this. The VA is insuring a loan against default.
Okay.
So in essence, what they're insuring is the fact that you're not going to let the house go.
Okay.
So on the lender side, we need to get VA insurance on our loan,
Okay.
and we will do VA loans down to a 550 credit score.
Okay.
So to give you a context of grade school grades,
Right.
I'd call that a D minus.
Okay.
So, that's a pretty low bar.
Right.
That's how I would say it to you. Beyond that, it's just simply, what do you make? What do you owe? Do
Right.
you have any money for down payment? And that's no different than any loan, frankly.
Okay.
But the right way to do it is to get all of that stuff knocked out up front.
Right.
The unfortunate part of the internet
Yes.
is
there's
that people
too much information.
Well, people can fall in love immediately with a house on their
Right.
phone, on their tablet, and
Yep.
suddenly I want to live there, and
Right.
then they're trying to back into the money.
Right. Right.
Get the money figured out first.
Right.
Understand what you can, more importantly, what you can't do,
Right.
and there's usually both.
Right.
And then go shop. I mean, I will say this, and this is loans in general.
Right.
The stress of loans.
Yes.
Because everyone's had this conversation with a coworker, a
Yep.
cousin, uncle, friend, and they said, "Gosh, I bought a house and it was so stressful."
Yep.
The truth of that statement is that most people fell in love with a house first and tried to back into the money second,
Yeah.
and that's backwards.
And I see that a lot myself, just because people will start looking at homes
Yeah.
before they even talk to even a real estate agent.
bet.
So I mean, and then all of a sudden I have to have this house. It's
Well, it goes from the logical to the emotional. Suddenly
Yes.
we're in love with a house.
Yes.
And we're trying to figure out, how do I buy it?
yes, exactly.
I'm very Dave Ramsey in that way. I kind of preach Dave Ramsey to people a lot of times, and just be financially prepared.
Right. Right. And when you're going through that process, it doesn't really matter whether you're looking at a regular VA loan or a rehab loan. The process itself is still kind of the same. Is
You
that
bet.
correct? Okay.
Same stuff.
So then on my end is when I go and find them a home,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a pristine home, we could use a regular VA loan.
Sure.
If it's maybe a neighborhood that doesn't have, like, maybe there's chip paint and maybe there's some carpet issues and possibly it's needs maybe a new stove or a new flooring or what have you, then we can go in and use the rehab loan.
You bet.
Right up front. And there is a maximum of how much you can use on that loan?
$35,000.
$35,000. And so that would include all the fees for the contractor as well.
Correct.
As the
Correct.
material.
That's your budgeted total number. So
Okay.
that's including the contractor, inspections, disbursements, everything.
And when we do that, is that something where, do we need to get pricing up front? Does the appraiser come in and say, well, I think this is about this much money, or how does that process go?
We work directly, we're generally going to work directly with the contractor.
Okay.
At time of appraisal.
Okay.
And so the house is X as it sits.
Right.
We're going to come in and do these 5 repairs.
Right.
and we're appraising it as if those repairs have been done.
Have been done. Okay, gotcha.
So with new paint, new tile, new carpet,
Right.
new AC unit, the house is worth, and I'll give you an example. As it sits, it's 200.
Right.
Repaired, it's worth 230,
Okay,
or some version of that.
right.
But we're looping the contractor into that conversation up front.
Earlier.
You bet.
Yes.
You
Okay,
bet.
that makes sense. And then then they have to get, usually I would think they would have to get some sort of bids at that point and things like that. Okay. But the homeowner, the one that's buying the home, gets to decide which contractor they want to use,
You bet.
correct?
You bet. 100% their
So
choice.
it gives them full, they get full responsibility of who they want to use and what they want to put
You bet.
into it.
You bet.
Up
So-
to that amount.
This is a thing I say to people all the time. If you turn on television, you can't help but see a real estate show about, hey, we bought this thing and we fixed it up and now it's
Yep.
beautiful.
Right.
And now we've sold it and made $100,000
Right.
or whatever those numbers are.
Right.
And I always look at these things as an owner-occupied fix and flip.
Right.
You're buying something that
Oh,
needs
that's
some
a
help,
good way of putting it.
and you're fixing it up, and then you're moving in.
Okay.
So it's your own fix and flip for yourself.
That's awesome.
That's a neat way to think about it, and
Yeah.
people get that when you say that to them
Right.
because they all watch the television shows.
Right, exactly. So for us who are, for those veterans who are considering buying a home, obviously the VA loan is going to be your best bet
You
because
bet.
it's going to be the lowest rate. This rehab loan that you have is probably even better for those who maybe are okay with maybe an older home that maybe still has the shag carpet
Sure.
or what have you. So I think it's really important to talk to someone who has done these loans because obviously most lenders can do a VA loan. That's pretty standard. But not every lender has this VA rehab loan.
Correct.
And not all of them have the resources or the people behind them that can do those checks on, because I'm assuming they have to do some of the repairs and then they have to get checked.
You
and-
bet. You bet. There's a whole process there of inspections
Okay.
to make sure we're in fact putting in what we said we were going to put in.
Right.
There's a final appraisal inspection to say we did this, and this.
Right.
So there's a whole process. We have a whole team of folks
Right.
that do nothing but renovation.
Okay.
After we close, they
Okay.
take it from there and run
Move.
all the way out to the end of it.
Okay.
Make sure everybody gets paid. There's no liens remaining.
Right.
And
And it's a one-time close then, correct? Okay.
Correct.
So, Matt, how do let people know how to get a hold of you if they give us your phone number and email so that just in case they want to talk to you about getting a rehab VA loan and we just want to make sure
Sure.
we can get a hold
Sure,
of you.
sure. So two simple ways. Phone is 480-529-0904. Email is Matt, M-A-T-T, at mattmerritt.com. So MATTMARET.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for coming and
You bet.
sharing.
My pleasure.
When I heard that there was a VA rehab loan, it will eliminate some of these people that are having to move into rentals
Yep.
to be able to get them into as homeowners and have that home ownership
You bet.
and the pride of even fixing it up. Even if they don't do it themselves and they have to have a contractor, it's going to give them that pride of ownership and they can figure out what they
Well,
want themselves.
They're
too.
making it theirs.
Exactly.
That's how I would say it. They're taking something and making it their own.
Yep, I agree. Well, thanks for telling us about the loan and about the process of the loan. And for those of you that are considering, or if you are a veteran and you're not really sure if you can afford moving into owning your own home, I would say talk to Matt because he's very good at looking at numbers and telling you what you can and can't afford. If you're not quite ready to buy at that point and you need to maybe pay off a few things, he would be the one to tell you what to pay off. The one thing I do know with a lot of buyers is they want to start paying things down and without talking to a lender, and sometimes you pay things down thinking your interest or your rate's going to go, or your what do you call it?
Your credit score.
The credit score is going to go up, and unfortunately only when you pay certain things off will that happen.
Truth.
And so it's always good to talk to a lender before you even go out with a real estate agent, because just knowing what you first can afford. Secondly, maybe you were thinking of getting a different loan product, and they say, well, are you a veteran? Well, yeah, I'm a veteran, but you didn't think, oh, I should get a VA loan.
You bet.
Or on another flip side of it is, oh my gosh, we happen to have a VA rehab loan. If you happen to be one of those that wants to do the construction and pick out your own carpet and your own paint and your own appliances,
Yep.
I mean, the rehab loan would be the way to go.
You bet.
So
The alternative is you're paying cash for it,
right?
or worst case, you're putting it on a credit card, and that is not a good plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, you also can use it as a tax write-off, and there's other benefits for going
Yep.
through your loan process.
Yep.
So, well, I appreciate you being here and explaining that to us.
100%, my pleasure.
So next podcast, we plan on being here on Tuesday at 2:30, and I'm super excited for the next one because we're going to have all of our sponsors with us, and they're going to give us a little bit of snippet of what each one does for business, and at that point, we will have them come on board separately at another time. But next week, we're going to have our sponsors. So thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.